Hello. What you see on your screen is the early Season 4 hero tier list. This was the tier list about 1 month ago when Lifeweaver first released for the top 500 ladder, which is what I anticipated. However, there has been a mid-season patch as of last week. I had to play out the patch for the past week, and things have changed, right? Junker Queen everywhere. She got randomly giga buffed this mid-season patch. She's gonna change a lot, but for this tier list, especially because this is on my second channel, the KarQ, this one is actually on the main channel along with a medal rank tier list. I'm actually only going to focus on top 500 because that's the one I know best, because that's the lobbies I usually play in NA East on PC. And what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to go through each hero and slide them up and down depending on how things have shifted ever since last week's patch. Capiche? Okay, so start from the top. Diva. I actually think Junker Queen is the #1 tank right now by far after the changes. So like, actually, let me move her first to the top right away. And I actually think all the other tanks are slightly a cut below her. So Junker Queen by far the best tank, A+. Everybody else is just slightly below. So let's slide Diva over to A. She's actually probably the second most popular tank I've seen. Ramatra's still being played a decent amount, but I actually think Queen farms Ramatra pretty hard because of his hitbox and his other form, but people still play him. I would still argue Ramatra is strong, especially in ranked play, so I still see him here. I'm going to keep him here. Another top choice for tanks is Winston early in the season. Winston's still being played in the Overwatch League because they're actually not playing on the buff Junker Queen patch, and I actually think Winston doesn't necessarily lose hard to Junker Queen because you can kind of ignore it, but Queen, if played right, can leave a knife in you and mess up your leap. And you know, you got a big Winston is weak to big shotguns, and Queen is actually a pretty strong matchup. Winston doesn't have a strong time to kill, so you never ever as Winston 1v1 the Queen. That is just a mistake, right? You can't out damage the heal or anything like that. You have to ignore her, and in order to ignore her, you need the right team and everybody to execute on your space that you're making, but Queen could just rush through your backline. So I think playing Winston right now, ever since this patch, has been pretty tough. So I'm gonna actually knock him down all the way to B tier. And still focusing on tanks right now, I'm gonna leave Ryan and Orisa where they are. I still think they're in the C and D tier. Like, Ryan has not played that much right now. Orisa not played at all. She actually got buffed in this mid-season 4 patch. Slightly. I think the damage for per projectile went from 12 to 13. I actually think she's a pretty good, strong matchup into Queen. I'd argue she's actually not bad in that specific matchup. Because there's so much Queen, you could arguably put her back up to C tier after this buff, but I don't have enough data. I think I'm saying this in theory, but I've probably seen one Orisa in this entire past like week since this Junker Queen patch. People just mirror the Junker Queen. They don't even try to play counters. They don't try to play the Orisa counter. The one other counter they are playing into Queen is Zarya. Zarya is actually being picked up a lot. Zarya is an answer for Queen because Zarya's bubbles negate the entire bleed. They stop her from self-healing from the wound. It stops the person from bleeding. You can mitigate the entire carnage. I think Zarya is good right now. Zarya is good against both Queen and Diva, who are top 2 choices. You play Queen on more linear slow maps. You play Diva when you need high ground and map control. And it's not a bad matchup into Queen, right? You can you can matrix some of the axe primary fire scouter gun shots, and you have big shotguns on her, and you can pressure the Queen out. But Diva's here. I think Zarya gets bumped up quite a bit, and still we're gonna keep focusing on tanks here. Let's see, Doomfist. I'm actually gonna knock him down as well. Doom is still like good, but he's not as strong as he once was. Simply because I just think it's just a big Queen meta, and Sigma actually stays in strong because Sigma is actually one of the few heroes that plays pretty well into Queen, especially on certain maps. I still think you can definitely play Sigma on Junkertown, Circuit Royale, Havana. Those are his best maps. Anything that's kind of like mid-range poke and not too many off angles, you can poke Queen out before she gets too close on those maps. So I'm gonna keep Sigma on strong still, but I'm actually gonna bump down Wrecking Ball as well. Queen can shotgun the crap out of these heroes. Like, all 3 of these heroes basically have to ignore the Queen. You don't really like take her on as a 1v1. The only real 1v1 hero against Queen is you Queen Mirror or Zarya. You kind of just have to poke her out and then only, like, you know, fully commit onto her once she's low enough. No shout, no more cooldowns, no more healing. Like, Queen is just insane right now because she got quadruple buff. They obviously buffed the healing from the wounds. Buffing the healing keeps her sustain higher, and it also builds her ultimate way quicker. She is building her ultimate so fast right now. It is absolutely insane. So Yeah, I think I'm happy with where all the tanks are. I think it's stabilized like this. Queen number 1, Diva as an option, Zarya as an option as a response, Sigma on certain maps, and Ramatra as like the fill for the other maps. If you want to run Ramatra Brawl and you're not comfortable on Queen, he's still really strong. But definitely pick Queen if you're good at her. Okay, now let's go on to the DPS. I'm going to try to focus on the A+ tier. Sombra. Sombra was really good early season 4. I've actually seen less of her. I don't think she's weak. She's still strong. So maybe I bump her down 1 tier. And the one hero that I've seen rise up above Sombra is actually Echo. Echo is everywhere right now, especially in the top 500 ladder. I was just browsing my my games I played this last couple of days. I just hit my Twitch VODs. I was trying to check how many Echoes are. Echoes are everywhere right now, especially because the mid-season buff. Mid-season changes changed to the ultimate of Echo, where you don't build your duplicate ultimate as fast, but the uptime to duplicate is higher. And I think Echo players like originally were just like, oh, I don't think I like this change. I don't like how my duped ult is slower. But the fact that you have your duplicate up more often, higher tempo, means you can just aggressively use it almost every team fight, or at least every team fight and a half. You build it much quicker, which gives you the option to leverage a win. And just it changes the tempo. And Echo is really, really good against Queen specifically, because Queen does nothing. You can't do anything about an Echo in the sky. So she's actually pretty great into potentially executing her. If you land a good sticky, get her down to half, and you do a lot of damage on the beam, or you just dive their backline. Like, Echo is a A+ hero in the high elos right now. Tracer doesn't go anywhere. Tracer is still the other staple pick, so I'm not going to move her. Widowmaker. Because Echo rose up in popularity, I actually think it's Tracer Echo as the top 2, and I think Widow gets knocked down a peg a little bit. She's still good on certain maps, but I'm going to keep her here. I think people are just, if you're going to have a Queen on your team, you just like play fast pace with the Queen instead of slowing it down, because Widow is a bit more slow, especially like Junkertown, Circuit, Havana. You play it slow with Sigma Poke, with Bap, Zen, Sigma, Widow, like it's slow snipers. She's a slower paced hero, so I'm going to put her down strong. But yeah, people aren't really playing her as much as they were about a few weeks ago. Okay, for the supports, Ana, she got nerfed this patch, right? The healing for the Bionade was pretty big, 100 to 60. That doesn't mean she's not very strong. I still think she's a solid hero, still strong, not very strong anymore. So we're gonna knock her down. Okay, so I moved Sombra, I moved Widowmaker. I still want to touch on the DPS. So let's see, Ashe. Still good. I still see quite a bit of Ashe. I still see quite a bit of Cassidy. He's fine in the B tier. Genji's also played quite a bit. I'm actually going to move Mei up 1. I think Mei is a great choice because there's a lot of Ramatras, Zaryas, and Queens. These are linear low ground heroes. Like, Diva can fly over a Mei wall, but like these 3 can't, these 4. A lot of times where you would play Sigma though, you don't necessarily play Mei, because those are the maps where like Havana Circuit and whatever, Junkertown, it's just way too open where the wall isn't like actually covering an entire choke. But other maps, you can wall people in pretty damn well. So I would actually bump Mei up to B. Mei is solid. Hanzo, I'm actually going to move him up to the A tier, the strong tier. Hanzo, Storm Arrow is great into pressuring all the Junker Queens a lot. Like right now, in order to kill Junker Queen, you either anti her or you burst her down as fast as you can. So you can't play super slow, and Hanzo's Storm Arrows and those big dinky headshots are pretty good. You can actually like dragon down a straight line and like stop a big push when she's engaging with Shout. So anything I can slow her down, Hanzo is pretty good at that, so I'm going to bump him up to A tier. I think Reaper is fine. The thing about Reaper is that he's not actually played a lot at all in high elos, but I don't think he's bad. I think in the previous tier list, no, I think I kept him here. Yeah, I actually think Reaper is underestimated. I would argue people should play him more into the Junker Queen mirror. You can actually burst her down like crazy. He's just boring, so people don't pick him. Sojourn, she fell down in popularity, but since Cassidy has been nerfed, Ashe got nerfed with the Bob change, she's still fine. I'd probably put Sojourn back up to strong, because like one of the best options to farm Junker Queen, because she just runs at you in a straight line, and no mitigation like Matrix is often. I would argue maybe Sojourn probably back up again in the high elos. I've seen a lot more Sojourns come back out in the woodwork, so let's put her up. Soldier's fine. These 2 heroes, Sim and Torb, are fine on the maps that they're good on. Torb's always a good fallback to help. As long as Tracer's in the game, Torb is like a good option. Like if you're not a Tracer player, a Torb turret will just slow Tracer down a lot, so that's always good. Symmetra's really good on defense and Koth. Keep her there. Other DPSs. Junkrat just got buffed this patch. 100 back to 110 mine. I think Junkrat's actually pretty okay, but because Echo is running around more, I find it hard to argue to bring him up any higher when he's got such a hard matchup here, and it's unreliable to kill the Tracer, so you're left with what? Trying to just spam down the Queen who could just run at you. Maybe if you get lucky with the trap, but yeah, I'm actually going to keep Junkrat, and not bad. Like, Junkrat mains who have been maining him are still going to play him no matter what. So yeah. And Pharah, we'll keep her in not bad. I think she's, with a Mercy Pocket, she's actually pretty good as well. An alternative to Echo, but like I think Echo's, like if you're going to play any of the 2 flying archetypes, I think Echo is just a better option, a safer option too, and can be played without a Mercy. If you just have a Zen Orb chilling on the Echo, or a, I don't know, like Brig throwing packs at her, that's actually okay. Better than like the Mercy having to damage boost each rocket because the shots between the rockets are so slow. But we'll keep her here. I'm pretty happy with all the other DPSs. And now finally, let's talk about the supports. So I mentioned how Ana got nerfed, bumped her down from A+ down to A tier. I think Bap is still a great choice, especially in ranked solo queue. I think Baptiste is still strong. He's an alternative option. The thing about the Junker Queen comp is that it's actually very flexible with a lot of supports. As long as you have a big chunky heal, a primary, a main healer, or main support like Ana, Bap, Kiri, or Moira, along with a secondary, you can actually just get away with anything. So I would say Ana's fine and ranked with her. Bap is fine. I played Bap Lucio with or Bap anything with Junker Queen when I was doing with a couple of Junker Queen mains this past week, like Akash. Brig, because Tracer's everywhere, I think she's still good. Like, you can poke away the Queen with the whip shot as well in the other cases. I actually think Brig is pretty solid right now. The stun, like the armor effect on her rally was bugged for a while. It got fixed this patch, so her rally is actually better than it was even after the buff. So yeah, I'm gonna keep her here. Now Kiriko, I kept her in strong tier at A tier, but I actually gonna rebump her back to A+, the highest tier again. Kiriko's back up here simply because of all the queens. The Suzu is like one of the best ways to cleanse the bleed wound effect, and one of the few counters to Junker Queen's ultimate. You can stop the effect completely. She's mobile, does pretty good damage if you can land the headshot. So Kiriko gets bumped back up. And I think by that nature, Lucio as well. Lucio, if you can play Lucio, like Lucio Queen, perfect. You could play Lucio Brig Queen, which is what Jotes was, which is what the Overwatch League Junker Queen comp was of last year, when Queen had a different set of skills. Like, she had a bit better commanding shout, but that's viable. Lucio Kiri's solid staple right now in high ranked. Lucio Ana I see play with Queen. Lucio Bap, Lucio Moira Queen. Like, Lucio is A+ with all the queens running around, and same with Kiriko. These are the 2 optimal ones, but anything can pretty much go. Moira, some people are going to be like, Moira has no utility, which is true, and therefore she is not A tier, but I disagree. Moira is like an insane stat patter. If you play her against Diva, that's when it's not good. You probably shouldn't hard force it, but if you're playing it with Queen, I mean, you're just big sustain. Throw a healing orb and you just annoy the shit out of the other Tracer, because Tracer's running around. You just you suck her off. If they run Genji as well with dive, you can annoy the shit out of Genji. I actually think Moira is severely underrated and is really strong for the majority of players, especially in top 500 ranked. When I say top 500 ranked, not everybody in top 500 is top 500. When you play top 500 ranked, you randomly get a couple GM2, GM3s, and I think for ranked play, Moira is like stat pad king. You get like 10k damage, 15k healing. Like, you're outputting like crazy. A lot of it is a little bit fluffed because a lot of it is self-healing, but I actually think Moira is so good in solo queue. Seriously, it's reliable and like so annoying to play against. When I'm playing Ana and these damage orbs are just flying at me, it's so much tempo. As long as there's no Diva, of course. Diva is like the big counter. If you can eat orbs every time, Moira loses a lot of value, but that's one of the biggest weaknesses. And Zen, I still think Zen is strong. Really good with the Sig comp, but I've seen less and less Zen simply because you just get rushed down so hard. As Zen, it's hard to kill Echo, and it's against Tracer, it's a bit of a skill matchup. I think Zen, the tempo of the game is so fast that Zen actually gets bumped down just a little bit. He's still good, don't get me wrong. He's just meta dependent. He's less, it's not like he's weak, but he's just dependent on what's strong, and the things that are strong are a little tougher and just outpace him at this current state. And for that reason, I'm actually going to bump Mercy back up to A tier this patch, simply because pocketing the Sojourn is once again good to help one-shot and kill some of the people. If Echo's everywhere, like, Mercy is totally fine. And then some people would be like, well, KarQ, don't you want to play Lucio with Queen? Are you going to run Mercy Lucio? No. Not necessarily. As good as Lucio is with Queen, Queen is so good right now, you don't even need a Lucio, because that does require a bit of coordination, and in ranked play, coordination's not always the best. Even in top 500, I'm going to be honest, half the team is never even using their mics anymore, which is kind of sad state to be in, but it is what it is. Queens can actually play without it, because Commanding Shout gives you so much gap closing, and if you land a knife, you pull them so damn far anyways that, like, you can basically close the gap. Gap closing is actually not as big of an issue as people think. It's accelerated and assisted quite a bit with Lucio, but not needed. So I actually think Mercy is pretty strong right now for those reasons, because it complements Hanzo as well. You can damage boost the Hanzo, damage boost the Sojourn, damage boost the Mercy. Like, it complements it so well right now. So I'm gonna put her back up and Zen down here. Did we talk about Bastion? Bastion's always not bad, a bit more niche. Junkrat talked about this. And let's talk about the shitters in the niche tier. Orisa, I mentioned earlier, arguably could be higher. I actually didn't talk about Roadhog earlier. Roadhog. Hog's getting a rework, by the way, in Season 6. They announced that in the roadmap. There's in the whole PvE, like, debacle that happened a few days ago. I'm not going to get into that. That's for a separate video, which I already mentioned earlier. I mean, there's going to be people who still play the PvP and hero tier list. This is for this audience. No PvE discourse here, but the Season 6 roadmap, Roadhog is getting reworked, but right now he is gutted pretty hard. No one-shot. Queen will just farm so much ult charge off you. Same with D.Va. You're just an alt battery. If you can't one-shot anymore, what's your identity? We'll keep him here. And Lifeweaver. Do we need to say anything about Lifeweaver? I looked his stats up. He's got a 39% win rate, which is atrocious across all ranks, averaged out. That is actually terrible. I have a lot of my streamer friends who are trying these whole unranked GM Lifeweavers, and they're just not having a good time. And these are good players, like Fitzy, Boger was doing it. I think he's 60 hours deep and he's only in Masters. I think when we looked at it, there's maybe like a few players who were able to actually play Lifeweaver as a main hero all the way up to top 500, or at least GM. He is just so hard to play to get like consistent strong value, because everybody just runs at you. It's so fast paced. You're too defensive. There's no need to defensively reposition. Like, it's just not impactful enough, and he needs to get some help in Season 6. But for now, he's in the shitter. I'd actually put him one tier lower. I'd put him in the shitter tier. Don't even play him. Legitimately, I would rather see an Orisa and Roadhog. It's actually a disservice to put him in the same tier as the D tier. He's actually like F tier, straight up right now. But in any case, that's the updated mid-season 4 tier list in the top 500 ranks. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, see you guys next time.